around here I make videos about science, what it's like to do a PhD and what it's like to live with tinnitus. If that's your kind of thing, then please consider subscribing. It really helped me out. So today I'm joined by my wonderful partner, Zach. Yeah, sorry if this is going to be weird, by the way, because I feel like we've not really done this, so it's going to be a bit...
No, it's a new one.
It's a new one.
Yeah, we've both done YouTube things separately, but this is the first time joining it together.
I know, so that's quite fun. Zach is a big reason as to why I kind of started my Instagram account and YouTube account. He's very supportive and very encouraging of that, so thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
I get lots of questions because I'm quite open on Instagram about being in a relationship and a long-term relationship. I get a lot of questions about what it's like to be in a relationship whilst doing a PhD. So we thought we would explore that and chat about that. So for a bit of context, we've been together...
Going on nearly 4 years or so?
Yeah, it's so great that we know that. And we've lived together pretty much most of that time.
Yeah.
That's a story for a different day. And yeah, so it's a long-term relationship. So most of our relationship has been whilst I was applying for PhDs and then starting doing my PhD, and also majority of it has been through the pandemic. So if that's not a test of a relationship, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself, Zach? Tell him what you do.
Yeah, yes, I'm Zach. What do I do? So I run a coffee roasting business here in Leeds. I've been in the coffee industry for going on probably over 10 years now. And running a coffee business, especially through the pandemic and everything else, has had its very unique challenges. But it's all been great. Definitely can't complain. And that's pretty much me.
Yeah.
I do coffee.
So the reason I thought I would get Zach to introduce what he does is because we don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
You find a lot of people in academia tend to be in relationships with people that are also in academia. But I do get a lot of questions about being with someone that's not doing the same thing as you and how that affects the relationship. Does it affect your relationship? All those kind of things. So I've got some of the questions that I get asked, and then I've got some questions that I have got for you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so first up, did you know anything about what a PhD is before you met me?
To a degree, I guess it's...
To a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a... Oh, well, my previous thought of what a PhD was is almost like an extended master's. In a way, you get a doctor title afterwards. Pretty much it. Yeah. And did you know anyone, or have you ever interacted with anyone that's had a PhD in your lifetime since meeting me? Obviously I don't have a PhD yet, so that's, a bit preemptive there. Yeah.
But
no, I tend not to have those sort of clever people in my circles.
Wow, okay. So I get asked a lot, what's it like being in a relationship with someone that's doing a PhD? So I thought I would hand that straight over to you.
What's it like? I mean...
Be honest, but don't hurt. No.
I guess it's interesting because, like you say, because I'm running a business as well, there are a lot of similarities between the two. So there's a lot of stressful points. There's been some quite low lows, but also some incredibly high highs through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to what I do anyway. I don't know if I wasn't running my own business and doing that sort of side of life, if it would be quite a drastic difference.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess it's interesting for us because of those parallels, and I've always thought, I think prior to meeting you really, that a PhD project is like your own little business. It's your baby because you're responsible for pretty much all of it, and that's essentially what running a business is. So although some of the stresses are not the same, they do overlap in terms of some of the worries, like the future worry, all of those kind of things. So I think we're very lucky in that respect, and I don't know about you, but I think it's really cool that we don't do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's nice to have different conversations and not get
Yeah.
bogged down in the same thing. And
Definitely.
it kind of puts things into context as well when I'm like, oh, my experiment didn't work and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's not the end of the world, is it? Like, it puts things into context. I think sometimes when you're around the people that know exactly what you're doing, you can kind of like feed off each other and probably stress each other out. That's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. What have you learned since I started my PhD? About me, about my project, about all of these things?
What have I learned? Stress management.
For yourself?
For both of us.
Oh, right, I was going to say.
For both of us. I mean, I've learned a lot about biology and what you do in your PhD, and I've done life cycle 6 and all that sort of stuff. About platelets.
A lot about platelets. What do you know about platelets?
Oh, now you tested me.
Just one fact. Or
They are a part of a red blood cell, I think. Is that right?
they're part of blood. They're not
Part
red
of
blood
blood.
cells.
Oh, damn it.
They are a blood cell.
Pass.
Part. Okay, we might have to do a separate video where I quiz you entirely on my project. That would be quite fun. So for me, I think that doing a PhD was always part of my plan. I met you before I was doing that, so it was kind of something that I was quite upfront about in the beginning because I was applying all over the country. So context, when we first started going out, we were long distance. You were in Edinburgh, I was in Leeds. So I don't know if that kind of made it a bit easier in the sense that like we both knew what we were doing career-wise and what our plans were, and we were just going to try and make it work regardless, really.
Yeah. I think at the time, especially when you were applying for different PhDs around the country, my business was at a point where it could probably still have moved with us. So we were quite lucky in that respect that we were in a flexible point within both of our lives, professionally and personally.
Yeah, it's all about timing, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's quite tricky to get. I think if you're going to go down the academic route, which I think I'm planning on doing, we don't know. Things may change. I change my mind regularly. One of the biggest challenges, especially for early career researchers, is that it's kind of widely accepted to travel to be able to progress your career, which I personally disagree with, but that's something that you do have to think about when you're in a relationship, because it's not like we can just up sticks. You can't really move the entire business because you've set a foundation here, and I don't really want to go to doing long distance for a couple of years because I feel like that would be really hard, especially after living together for a long time. So there's some things that you have to think about. Whilst I don't think it's necessary that you do need to move around, some people believe that. I think it's quite an old school view of it, when there weren't many opportunities and you had to go to certain universities to gain certain skills, whereas for me at the University of Leeds, we have so many options and so many like resources that I don't feel the need to move to progress my career. So, and also in Yorkshire and like the Northern Belt, like
we're quite lucky.
We're quite lucky, so there are options, and that's something that we've talked about at great length in terms of like career options, because it needs to work for both of us, because it wouldn't be right. I just wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to have to move
but we've always said if there was an opportunity that you couldn't say no to and it was wherever, we'd make something work.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to like early on, I think you need to have those honest and difficult conversations. If I was going to give any advice in terms of relationships, just generally, I think generally, whether you're doing a PhD or not, you're going to have stresses in your life, and life is always changing and evolving. So I think you need to have those honest conversations early on.
I think we've always been very, very good at that from the start, is having quite open, honest conversations in any aspect of the relationship. Yeah,
so I would definitely do that. Again, I think we were quite lucky that when we were first dating, that I was like, I want to apply for PhDs, this is what I'm doing. It wasn't like we were already in like a long-term relationship.
No.
But I don't think that would have made a difference anyway. So things that I've written in my notes here are like things to have to think about. We've already covered like jobs, moving across country. Another one is like job stability, particularly with what we both do. So that's something that's a bit scary. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Job stability, yeah, I don't know, it's a weird one because with ending the PhD and moving on to potential academic roles, be it short-term sort of 6-month contracts and stuff, it's another delve into the unknown. So we don't really know what's going to be happening in 6, 12, 24 months time. So it is maybe a little bit scary, but you know, I've got full confidence in you that you'll do awesome and find a great position and do something that you love.
Yeah.
And you know, the business is doing okay.
Yeah.
It's stable, so I think
strong and stable.
Like.
And then another thing I put here is the support has to be equal. Like, it may not always be at the same time, but supporting each other's career goals and journeys is something that I think is very important. So like with you wanting to expand the business and like the different kind of routes that I potentially want to go down, I think you know, it goes without saying you should support your partner, but I think with those kind of things we're both quite career driven.
Yeah, certainly.
That we want to make sure that we can help each other in any which way that we can, to make sure that we can both do that. Sorry, we do have a cat and she's now decided to clean herself aggressively in the corner.
Yeah, if you hear bells ringing and stuff,
bells,
it's the cat.
We're not just like got random bells going on.
Yeah, but again, going back to you supporting each other, I think we're again quite lucky in that we're both in very different industries, so we can take our professional and personal life experiences of our sectors to help support one another in different ways.
Yeah, we think different ways, because I sometimes ask you about like PhD stuff and you give like some really good suggestions and I'm like, I've not thought of that. And I think it's kind of good having someone that's like quite removed from what you do. Like, as much as we're interested in each other's jobs, you are going to think differently. You're in completely different environments like 5 days a week, so it is good. And I do think it also helps to kind of unwind after work as well. Because I've got friends that are like in academic couples, let's call them that, that probably just never shut up about work, and I just think that would make me lose my mind. As much as I love what I do and I probably could talk about it forever, it's probably not healthy to do that. So having those differences is cool, and like learning about what each other does is really cool, and we learn stuff pretty much every day, don't we? So that's always fun. And then I've got some tips for, you know, difficult times during a relationship, whether that's you're doing a PhD or not. I think a lot of this applies anyway. So what we've said already is be open and honest, have the difficult conversations early, and keep checking in, you know?
Yeah.
And also another thing is like know what each person needs when they're struggling. Again, we've been quite lucky that when we've had low points, they've never been at the same time, which is really lucky.
Yeah, we have been quite good with that.
So it's knowing what each person needs, and again, it's all about honesty and just, you know, just if you're not feeling great, just say, like, there's no point bottling up. And then I've put my last question is, what's my PhD title?
It is, I want to say, the role of a adenylyl 6 in hemostasis and thrombosis.
Yes.
Is that right?
Well, platelet function, hemostasis and thrombosis, but
nearly there. 90%.
Majority of it there. I mean, I talk about it enough, so. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think, you know, being in a relationship with someone who's doing a PhD is it's just a relationship, isn't it? You know, I think you'll find no matter what sort of relationship you're in, your partner, if they're a career-driven person, they're going to have stresses and difficulties in their profession, in their job, and it's just, like we've said, being open and honest and being able to support one another in those times of needs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, I've had messages from people saying, like, is it bad to be in a long-term relationship whilst doing a PhD? no. If anything, I think it's great.
Yeah, it's
from my
fantastic.
experience, because you have a more of a like tight knit support network, and I just think like I don't think you should, if you don't want to be in a relationship, don't be in a relationship. If you do. I think that just goes without saying. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your life, it's what's important to you, and like I don't think you should make rash decisions. I don't think you should be like, oh, I can't be in a relationship because I'm doing a PhD. I don't think that. Like, life's gonna throw you like curveballs no matter what. I don't think you should disregard things. When we met, we weren't looking for a relationship. It was just kind of just happened. So I think that's something.
I can appreciate where people might be scared of being in a relationship whilst doing a PhD, because you've got to put a lot of focus and effort into the PhD. But again, it's having that support from your partner. Like, there's plenty of days when you say, look, I need to just crack on, do this thesis writing or these figures or have you for a few hours after work, and it's been like, sweet, I'll get tea cooking whilst you're doing that, and
it's just having that
being
balance.
aware of what another's support needs. You don't need to be constantly 24 hours with each other. It's having that support, which you do need, especially in a PhD and running a business. It's like, I'll have days it's like, right, I need to stay at the roastery late because I've got X, Y and Z to do.
And like sometimes we don't like to work on evenings and weekends, but I think we both understand that it's going to happen sometimes, and we're quite understanding of that. And again, I don't understand why people are scared about that. I mean, I remember saying to you when I like accepted the PhD position, I was like, oh, if you want to leave me, you can. I was very dramatic and very drunk. It was New Year's Eve. We had pints of wine. Again, story for a different day. Do not advise. That I was quite emotional, and I was like, if you don't want to be with me because I feel like I'm going to be like a bitch or stressy and all this kind of stuff, and it could like completely change me. This was all before we knew a pandemic was going to happen. So I remember being like that, and you were like, it's fine, we'll make it work, like, don't need to worry. And I think I understand people's concerns, but I just think I don't think you should disregard something. Like, give it a go. You're gonna have you don't know what life's gonna throw you. Like, you could have loss, you could have all sorts of different things in your life that you just don't know is gonna happen. So I think just live it in the way that you want to, and don't let that stop you. And don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't be in a relationship or should be in a relationship.
Yeah,
like,
just do what you want.
Do what you want to do, basically. Yeah, well, I think that kind of wraps everything up nicely. Let me know if you're doing a PhD and whether you're in a relationship. Does your partner do a PhD? Are they in an academic environment, or are they doing something else? How do you find it? What's your experience like? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. So thank you for watching. If you don't follow me already on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of the shebang, it's @_Bethology. I'd love to connect with you. So I'll see you in the next one.
Make sure to subscribe.
Yes, that. Bye.